Yes, because Kim hit the recording in progress button. Is it automatically record?
I did not hit that.
So I think they are. I think we have it set up to automatically record, which will be interesting. Close. Good morning, Mr. Jordan.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Golden. How's things in Florida?
Really good, really good.
Hey, let's talk later. I've got to jump on this. So
Things in Florida are good. I was over at the conference yesterday. I slept in this morning here and played some tennis. I'm doing this right now, and then I'll head over there for the afternoon session.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Level ones, here we go. Although, Brian, are you making calls consistently and inconsistently? What are you doing?
Not consistently, Eric. I have put my list together, and I just have not been making the calls consistently. So,
is there a reason? If you had to pick a reason, what would that be?
I think just the usual human condition of the fear of rejection factor. That's, kind of that irrational fear that's holding me back from making the calls consistently.
Well, the fear, okay. It's
procrastination.
Let's talk about that. The fear is rational. Okay, because fear is fear. And it's rational because it's real. Now, we can logically think there's no reason for it, but there is a reason for it. You're afraid of what people are going to say on the other line. And here's what they're going to say. No, not interested. Why is everybody calling me? You're in the absolute wrong brokerage, never call me back, which I've never heard. But that's about what you get. I want you to understand that's what you, and that isn't what you're afraid of. But that's what people think they're afraid of. They think they're afraid of the rejection. They're not. They're afraid of the questions. They're afraid of being asked something that you look foolish in being asked. And so we're going to address that this morning because I think that's one of the key pieces of why people don't consistently make calls. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But before we start, anybody have a win for the week? Anybody have something they want to say? I had a couple of good things happen, but I'll wait for anybody else, whether it be real estate, whether it be coming to some understanding, doesn't really matter. A class you went to that was a win for you. Tell me something about real estate over the last week that made you happy. We're all in it for a living. Let's hope we had something over the last week that made us happy.
I added a couple more new listings yesterday.
Hey, how did you find them, Mr. Decker?
Referral business.
Okay.
That's all, Gary Jordan does such a great job with that. He's taught us well.
Yes, Gary Jordan has taught us well. Okay, well, congratulations on that. Anybody else have any other wins? Anybody make phone calls that weren't making phone calls? Anybody handle an objection and they go, you know what? It didn't bother me as much as it used to bother me. Any win at all? Anybody?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so I've been actually doing in-person like lunch meetings with new people, just expanding the network and talking about EXP and be able to elaborate more. And that's something I just wasn't doing before, so I'll consider that a win.
Yeah, and when you say elaborate more, you mean have a better elevator conversation, like a shortcut? Okay.
Yep. It just they hear it and they just don't know crap about it. Basically, excuse my abbreviation for that, but they just don't know what they don't know. So yeah, being able to go in depth and let them ask questions and be the resource.
Good. Excellent. Anybody else got something to add? If not, back to me. So I got a couple things that happened this week that were really, really cool. I was traveling midweek last week and was in the mountains of North Carolina and was talking to someone from the traditional network marketing, multi-level direct sales industry. I was talking to him about the class that I do here Monday and Thursday. And I said, his name is Craig. I said, Craig, it's remarkable how the training for whether you're recruiting agents or you're talking to anyone about a side business, it's how similar they are. And he had never heard it before that way. And I said, well, it's similar in the sense that everybody has it in their mind much more difficult than it actually is. And he said, tell me more about that. And I said, we all think our job is to recruit people. And as long as that is what we're thinking about, until we're at the point where we are good at it, we're going to have a lot of fears associated with that. And the way to get through that, and I was talking it through with him, and then I realized I may have spoken to this about you with you guys, but I didn't belabor the point. I didn't hit it over and over and over. You've heard me say it often that you're looking for the person looking for you. But what you're really looking for right now in this phase, especially Brian, like yourself, is you're just looking for someone that wants to know more about what you know. The early stages of recruiting or attracting or contacting has to be, I'm just looking for someone that says, yeah, I'd like to find out more. And so if you're thinking that's what you're looking for, then we need to ask the right question. And we need to ask it in the way that makes them say, yeah, I'd like to find out more. Now, remember from last week, the two motivations people have is hunger and curiosity. So when we're contacting people, everybody stay with me. When we're contacting people, we're asking ourselves, what do I say to them to identify that they're hungry or identify that they're curious? Now, remembering most people, when you call them, are not expecting your call, so they need something to stimulate their curiosity. You need to say something that causes them to go, what was that? And for me, that line for me is, EXP is exploding everywhere. And I'm not asking you to change brokerages. But and at the very beginning of me making calls, I like to insert right there, but there's 1,000 agents a week joining this company. And all I'm really calling you to find out is, your volume's ideal for one of our programs. Have you actually seen why 1,000 agents a week are joining? Hold on, doctor's appointment. Got to take it. I'm going to hit pause for 1 second.
I'm going to take over. How many of you are using CRM Grow? Okay. Do you have Calendly already? Do you have them linked together? Okay. If you stay on just for 5 minutes after this, I'll show you how to do that.
Sorry about that. I'm back. I now have a doctor's appointment that isn't 2 months out. Very nice. Okay. So where I was going was this. If you're not making calls, the fear isn't rejection. That's what the general term is, but it's really not rejection. It's a lack of understanding why you're making the call. I'm making calls to find out whether someone's open to talk to me about EXP. Now, I've been doing it now for 4 years, and I'm still calling people just to find out if they're open to talk to me about EXP. If they are open to talk to me about EXP, I say something and then get them in front of the information. Brian, you see the difference? Mr. Bass, you see the difference? The difference is clearly, for me, it's, I want to know if I have a willing participant. Why? Because then I'm talking to a friend, not a foe. Then I'm talking to someone. I like, in networking, I used to, no one has asked this question more than me as far as I know in the world. I literally have asked this question more than anyone else I've ever met. Do you ever look at ways to make more money? I've asked that question, I can't tell you how many times, but it is in the 10,000 or more times. Because when I'm in the networking, recruiting phase, not in real estate, I ask everyone I come across that is friendly. I give them a compliment and then I say, oh, you're really good at what you do. Can I ask you something? Do you ever look at ways to make more money? Wow, I've never had someone say that to me that way. Man, you're really good at communication. Have you ever looked at ways to make more money? Oh my gosh, you take a lot of pride in what you do, don't you? Yeah, you're really good at it. Do you ever look at ways to make more money? I have gotten so used to asking that question that I'm so used to people only saying yes, or I don't even hear them. Because I don't move to the next stage if they haven't said yes. So let's talk about how that relates to here. When I'm making my calls, I'm looking for the one who's looking for me. It starts with when I call them, are they available for a minute or two? If they're not available, they're not looking for me at that moment. So what do I say? Hey, sounds like you're busy. Do you have 2 minutes for a real estate conversation? I immediately want to put it back into, are they open? Are they looking? Are they looking for me? They don't know if they're looking for EXP, but if they don't have 2 minutes, they're not looking for me at all. So if your fear is, I don't know what to say, you do know what to say. You've got a script. And if your fear is, I don't know what to say when they say something back, the answer is, you ready again? Anytime they say anything, agree with them, repeat what they say, and that'll give you enough time to say something else. So when you call somebody up and you say, hey, love to bend your ear on some real estate for a couple of minutes, and they go, I don't have time at the moment. I repeat, oh, not a problem. You don't have time at the moment. Can I call you back later today, or is it better tomorrow about this time? They say, oh my gosh, everybody's calling me. I said, look, I'm sure everybody is, because you're a really good agent. That's why they're calling you. But I'm calling you for a different reason. I'm just calling to see if you've actually seen why 1,000 agents a week are coming. I'm not calling to try to get you into it, because I'm not. I'm calling to find out if they're open to talk to me. And if you find out that people are open to talk to you, guess what? You've got a willing participant. I said this last week. When they rush, typically what we try to do is rush our conversation. And I do the opposite. When they rush, oh, I'm really busy, say, look, do you have 2 minutes for a real estate conversation? Or should I call you back later today or tomorrow about this time? I'm going to pause for a moment. Some of you, like Gary, Brian, you guys are on the phone very regularly, and you come across some of this. You guys have any feedback for what I'm saying with the way you think going into your calls and how it aligns or is not aligned with what I'm talking about? Anybody?
I'll say this, Eric, that once you develop that mentality you're saying about looking for those who are looking for you, and you don't take things personal, you'll find out in a hurry whether they want to have a conversation or not, or whether they're curious. And one thing I like about your script and what you're saying over and over, that we don't get it. We try to say too much. I'll try to say too much. I have some pretty good success with it, but still, I could cut to the chase and ask his questions straight up, just asking him, have you seen it? And probably make twice as many calls.
It's funny you say that. I went through a period where I tested this kind of contacting phrase. Hey, I'm calling on behalf of EXP. I'm really just calling agents in your area to ask one question. And the answer, yes or no, doesn't matter to me. Have you actually seen EXP's presentation, or have you just talked to people? And they will answer it right away. Say, oh, you never saw it. Well, then I guess my role is to tell you, if you haven't seen it and you want to know why 1,000 agents a week are coming, then you may want to take a look at it. I mean, again, it's not ideally with what we teach as a script, but I want you to know, with what Gary said, it is the same concept. you're really just asking if someone's willing to have a short conversation with you. Okay. Now, if you've been in the real estate business longer than a week, having conversations with people is something you do all the time. The problem is you're now adding pressure to this conversation because you're worried about what they say. Gary and I are not worried about what they say. We're only worried about what we say. And if we say the right thing to the right person, we don't have to worry about what they say. And if we say the right thing to the wrong person, we don't have to worry about what they say either. It has very little to do with what you say. It has everything to do with the way you think and how you say it. And those two things are aligned. If I can train on anything this week, it would be this training. How are you saying what you're saying? And is it being directed by what you're thinking? Or is it being directed by the best way to say it? If you're thinking, nobody's looking. If you're thinking, I'm breaking into their middle of their day and they're going to be rushing. If you're thinking, I don't exactly know what I'm going to do with them if they're open. If you're thinking, hope they don't ask a question I can't answer. If you're thinking when you're making the phone call, then you're not prepared to make the phone call. There shouldn't be any thinking. Now, if you're brand new and you don't have this script down pat, you should be thinking, damn it, I should have been learning this script while I've been wasting all this time. I've been in a pandemic for 2 years and I could have learned the dang script in a weekend, but I decided Father's Day is more important, even though they didn't give me all that much attention. Don't let Monday pass without knowing the script. And don't let Tuesday pass without knowing in your mind your script is to not worry about the response. So if Monday is learning the script and Tuesday is not worrying about how they respond to the script, by the time you get to Wednesday, you should be better. And that's all I care about. Are you better on Wednesday than you were on Monday? And if you're the same darn person, that's your fault. I'm looking for those of you that are on screen. It looks like some of what I'm saying is getting through by the way you're reacting. Those of you that are not on screen, if you're driving, cool. But if you're doing something else, you might want to plug in because it does matter when you're looking. Now, if you're driving, please stay behind the veil of no screen, no camera. Anybody else have a question or comment about something I'm covering? If it's helping, tell me. Let me go to the next step of that. But anybody?
I think it
Eric?
makes sense. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, thank you. Just a kind of a reaction, a quick reaction to what you're saying this morning, which is great, by the way. It's very helpful. I think that you're onto something there that I might be a little bit afraid of. Yeah, well, I'm on 100% commission. How, can you tell me how EXP is going to beat that or something of that nature? And then I'm going to be like, oh, let me check, let me get back to you, or something. And they're going to be like, hey, you're calling me, are you not prepared with these answers?
Well, you brought up a good
chances someone
point.
is interested, right?
No.
That may be the greater fear than the rejection part of it.
Hell, wait, watch this. Isn't it nice when you first said, I'm afraid of rejection,
Right.
Now we're past that, learning real substantive stuff. So don't let something that sounds like an excuse be exactly what it sounds like, just an excuse. Because if you don't fix that issue, you're going to always have that issue. On the other side, to get to revenue share, you've got to beat the problem you've got right now, right, Brian? So don't go to bed tonight with the same problem you went to bed with last night. It makes no sense. This is the overall lesson. This is the nugget for today. Don't let what beat you yesterday continue to be a problem today. That's on you. Now, let me say this in order to answer the question you asked, and then Michael, you'll be next. You asked the question, you know, what do I say when they ask like, oh, I'm at 100% and how are you going to do better than that? Let's start with understanding this. If you answer a question, they're going to ask another question. And if they ask another question and you answer it, they're going to ask another question. And so here's the thing to remember. A fool can ask more questions than a wise man can answer. Okay? So we're not going to, no matter how wise we are or how foolish they may be, and how we may not qualify for being wise and they may not qualify for being foolish, it's still the same lesson. So here's how we answer all questions: by agreeing with them. So Brian, the role play would be this. Let's role play back and forth. Come on the microphone. So I call you up and I say, hey, I'm from the EXP. Brian, look, happen to notice your numbers. Dude, looks like you're killing it. I'm not asking you to change brokerages, but we do have 1,000 agents a week joining our company. And I'm really just calling you, Brian, because of your volume. I'm really just calling you to see, have you actually seen our 2022 presentation? And more importantly, had someone show it to you and personalize it for your exact needs? Brian, have you seen it? And you're going to say,
well, I'm in a great situation where I am. I have a great relationship with my broker, and I'm on 100% commission. I'm doing very well with it. I'm really not interested at that time, at this time. And I do get several calls from EXP recruiters. So, you know, I'm not able to I'm not able to get any answers as far as why EXP is so great. You know, no one has really been able to.
So you gave me 3 or 4 in a row. You gave me 3 or 4 in a row. Let's handle one of them at a time, which is perfectly okay. The one you originally said is, oh, EXP, yeah. Well, I'm already at 100%. How are you going to do better than that? My answer, that's awesome. 100% is an awesome number. But do you realize out of the 1,000 agents a week that are coming over to us, many of them, hundreds of them, are coming from flat rate brokerages where they're at 100%. We have a program that addresses that, but you haven't seen it yet. So let's go ahead and get you in front of it so we can show you why people who are at 100%, they still come over here. I'd love to show you that. Could we do that later this afternoon or tomorrow? Oh, I love my broker. So let's pretend you gave me what you gave me originally. Secondly, you said, I love my broker. I'm doing really well. I get some leads and I'm at 100%. And then I would respond with, that's awesome. You have any idea how many agents I talk to that are unhappy where they are? But here's what you wouldn't know. We have 1,000 agents a week coming over here, and some of them were just as happy as you were. Because they looked at a presentation and they realized that you can get all of what you just said over here as well, and then more. And so all I want to do is get you in front of the information. And what will probably happen is you look at it and you'll say, you know what? I really like what EXP is doing, but I think I'm happy where I am. And I'm going to say, that's awesome. I agree. But here's what you might say. Wow, I didn't know that they would help me set up retirement. Oh, I didn't realize that I could be at 100% with EXP as well. Oh, I didn't realize I'd have access to healthcare and lead generation. So one of the things I find is most brokerages that are 100% brokerages, they generally don't have a lot of training, a lot of support, and they don't have any kind of retirement. I'd just like to show you why agents like you would move if you ever decided to, as long as you understand that I'm not expecting you to move. I'm expecting you to look at our program and say exactly what I said before. Wow, that's amazing, but I think I'm staying where I am, at least for the time being, which I'm okay with. So let's just jump on a Zoom tomorrow or Wednesday, whenever it's convenient for you. And I'll show you what all the buzz is about. Again, with no pressure at all. How does that sound, Brian? Does tomorrow afternoon or Wednesday morning better for you?
We can make that happen tomorrow afternoon.
Now, I want you to understand, It wasn't what I said. It was the fact that I said something that made you automatic. See, we have an automatic filter. We all have it in everything we do. Do you realize when you go into your drawer to grab your socks, you grab them the same way from the same angle every time? Do you realize when you go to put your socks on, when you go to sit down, you sit down the same way, grab the same sock and start on the same foot every way? Do you realize when you're walking down the street and someone says, "Hey, Charlie, how you doing?" You have an automatic response. Do you realize that we have an automatic response for everything? And when we're asked about our brokerage, we have an automatic response. All I'm doing is taking them away from that response with some information. And it doesn't matter what information it is, it's just getting them away from their response. So when they say, "I love my broker," I would never change brokerages. They give me 15 I talked to a lady 2 days ago, Saturday. She did 273 transactions last year, $70 million. And she said, "I absolutely love my brokerage. I did 273 and 70. I said, "That is amazing. It's amazing. I mean, that's why I'm calling you, because you're doing that kind of volume." And I got to be honest with you, with that kind of volume, I'm sure you've already fully set up retirement. But if you haven't, I'd just like to show you the piece about retirement here at EXP. "Oh, well, how do you guys handle retirement?" Love to show you. You see what I'm saying? It's not a conflict. I've got to get them, Brian, away from what they're talking about. And the only way I know how to do that is to agree with them and praise them on it and do it long enough where I can then get their brain to go, "Okay, relax." And then I hit them with the thing I want to hit them with. There's a lot of agents that love their broker that have come to EXP. I don't know why you would come, and you may not. In fact, I always say this, by the way. I always say this. In fact, once I show this to you, if you don't think it's worthy of us talking about it, I'll agree with you. If you don't think you should come, I'll agree with you. But until you see it, you have no way to know why 1,000 agents a week are moving. And let's be honest, with your success, you're going to want to know why agents are doing things. Is that fair? As long as you know I'm expecting you not to come, here's what I'm expecting you to go. "Oh, wow, that's amazing. How do they do that? Oh, but I'm still happy where I am." Why do I say that? Because I want to build a curiosity. What's he talking about? "Oh, I have people tell me they love their brokers all the time, but we have 1,000 agents a week coming over. Hundreds of them love their brokers. All I want to show you is what would still get them to come." That is building curiosity. And Brian, understand, has nothing to do with what they're saying. Anybody? Brian was next, and Michael, you were next. But does that help you, Mr. Bass? Are you following where we're headed?
That does help. It does. And it was I think a light bulb went up that maybe that my fear was not what I thought it was. My fear is not having information to provide to, so.
And you
Now
don't need
I know
any
what it is,
information
but-
other than you need 2 pieces of information.
Yeah.
The information number 1 that gets them curious, and the information number 2 to send them where you're sending them. That's all you need. And the information for getting them curious is right here in our script. That's why it was written this way, because you can pick pieces of it. "Oh yeah, oh yeah." Show you how to retirement, lead generation. I'll show you a couple of those things, but let's jump on the presentation so you can see it. Michael, what were you going to ask?
I was just going to comment on before the script part, really just the whole, like you said, kind of doing it today, learn it, do it today, not kick the can down the road, so to speak, but also the aspect of not beating yourself up. If you had a goal of 10, you only made 7, well, you still made 7. Don't beat yourself up on the 3 kind of thing, but do better and build on that. And so I was just wanting to kind of express that's probably my biggest thing, is just don't beat yourself up on the ones that you didn't get. Reward yourself on the ones that you are getting.
I'm gonna make it easier on you. I think you should beat yourself up on it on Monday. But there's no reason for you to beat yourself up for it again on Tuesday. You deserve one good day of flogging. You do. If you don't know something, then today's the day for you to go. So I was riding around with two of my agents on Friday. And one of them, after saying something about something, and I don't think it was agent attraction, it was just something. One of them said, "I'm so dumb." I don't know if any of you ever say that statement. First of all, it's a statement that's real, but understand there's something else you could say that completely changes the way you feel about the statement. Instead of "I'm so dumb," how about "I just learned something"? Because that's when you say "I'm so dumb," it's because you just learned what you did is so dumb. So I'm all about changing the way we think about ourselves. Because if we change, understand there's what happened and then there's the story. And the story is the way we talk about it. What happened is this person learned something. And instead of saying, "Wow, I'm smarter," what she said is, "Look at me, I'm dumb." Same exact thing happened, but she took it from a negative perspective. Brian, when someone cuts you off, when someone hangs up on you, when someone gets bad at you, it feels horrible to me when it happens to me. I don't even like it when it happens to you. But I promise you, when it happens to me, as much as Gary will tell you that I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof, I'm not when it happens to me. The difference is I recover faster. I'll use a tennis analogy. I was playing this morning and I happened to hit some of the shots that I hit well, and I hit them well. Then a couple of times today, I was hitting my backhand really well. And then all of a sudden I hit it really poorly. And here's what I said: "Oh no, I don't want to start doing that again." And then I realized when I went back to the forehand side, I hit a couple of really good shots and then I missed with one. And here's what I said: "Oh, let me go back to what I was doing." See the difference? Let me go back to what I was doing versus, "Oh my gosh, I hope that didn't happen again." Same thing happens in making phone calls. When someone's negative, I'm supposed to feel it. When I don't say the right thing, I'm supposed to know it. But I'm going to use both of those as opportunities to look at my growth and say, it's not hurting me as much as it used to hurt me, or it's not hurting me at all. But it's a misnomer that no's are fine. They're not. Let me spend a minute and tell you why they're not. I don't have the exact number, but I know the statistic. The statistic is, as you're growing up, you hear the word no 7 to 10 times as many times as you hear the word yes. And it's designed to hurt you. It is. Stop. No, I told you no. In fact, no one ever said, well, no one as a kid ever says yes, 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 yes. As an adult, you might say that. But as a kid, you never say yes, 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 yes. But anybody ever around a child, what do we constantly say? No, 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 don't do that, no. So the word no is supposed to hurt because it always did. You're embarrassed when you're a kid. When they say no, you're hurt, you're embarrassed, you feel dumb, and you're afraid you're not going to get dessert or video games. True or not true? As a kid. As an adult, you hear the word no, you automatically revert to that same feeling. Until you realize, and I don't even like when they say, well, they're not saying no to you, because it sure feels like they're saying no to me. Here's how I handle that. Ready, Brian? Oh, a percentage are supposed to say no. Done. If I'm going to make calls, a percentage are supposed to say no. And unlike all the books that you read, I don't think that I'm going for no, although that book, Go for No, is a great book. I'm not going for no. And I'm not one closer to a yes. What I am is doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't go through the no's saying, oh, good, a yes is around the corner. What I say is, oh, good, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. How many of you are either married or in a what we'll call committed relationship? Hands up. Okay. I happen to know Gary's wife. I happen to sort of know Kim's husband. I don't think I know much of anybody else's whatever. But here's what I'll tell you. Sometime over the next week, you're going to say something to them or they're going to say something to you, and there's going to be an automatic response from one of you. Kim's going, yep, that's going to happen. And if you react or they react to the automatic response, it's going to go down the wrong path. True or not true? Everything happens between now and freedom. Everything happens between now and the end of a relationship. Everything happens between now and midnight. At some point, you're going to go outside and it's too hot. At some point, you're going to be thirsty. At some point, you're going to be hungry. At some point, you're going to feel stuffed. At some point, you're going to feel fat. All is going to happen, yes or not? It's going to happen. So once you realize this is what's supposed to happen, I can get past it. It feels better immediately. It doesn't feel better because the next one's going to be a yes, because it may be a no. But it feels better that it's supposed to happen. And I'm going down the right path. Now I'm in the weeds today. We're not talking about what to say or how to say it. What we are saying is what to be thinking about. So let's go down that path a little bit further. When I go to make calls, I make a commitment at the beginning that I'm going to make a certain number of calls or for a certain period of time. And I also decide I'm not going to try to learn anything until that session is over. So for some of you, don't micromanage each call, micromanage each session. Get a group of calls in. Some of you may need to wait 2 or 3 days to get enough calls in to really look back and say, okay, how am I doing? Because Gary will tell you, one day we could be amazing and the next day it's like we're brand new and we're the same person. It's just the world has shifted 24 hours. And for some reason, that's affected the results. Gary, is that true or not true?
It's very true. Can I say something, Eric? I'd like to give you a little analogy that I know that both you and I love to fish. And this agent of attraction activity is just like fishing. You can go out some days and the first 2 casts, you're going to catch a fish. Now, maybe a little bitty fish, not big enough to eat. Most likely it'd be a small fish. But if you keep going out day after day after day, and you should keep casting, you're going to catch a big fish. It's just the law of averages. Some days you're fishing, maybe using the perfect fly, maybe the perfect lure, put it in exactly the right place, but it's in front of the wrong fish. He's not going to eat it. And some days you go fishing and you're the hero, you're catching lots of fish. Next day you go fishing in the same doggone place, you get skunked. You're like, what the hell? But it's the same analogy. You keep on swinging, you keep on casting, you keep on making those calls, you're going to catch your fair share of medium-sized fish and big fish to make this all work. I think it's almost a very unique analogy, but you keep swinging you're gonna get some hits.
Not only are they gonna get hits, people don't know that if you don't fish, you'll still recognize this. If you know there are fish in the water and you have something called bait to put in the water, and you have some form of hook to put the bait on, there is a fish in that water that's going to bite your bait. There is one. I promise you. There's always a fish. Now, when we're fishing, Gary and I'll tell you, we'll go through a period of an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 where we may not get a hit at all. But the fish at some point during the day, they have to eat. No, we're going to go back and say, well, we're going to change presentation and color and depth. But the truth is, you don't have to change any of it. As long as you know, watch this, that there are hungry fish somewhere in the water, you know the bait you're going to use will catch fish if they're hungry, and you put it on the hook and present it the right way, you can't keep from getting bit. Now, once they bite, there is some sophistication in reeling them in. But none of you have an emotional fear of reeling them in. This call is all about just getting them to bite the dang hook. So I want you to think about this analogy. What Gary said is perfect. 1 out of 3 agents, according to NAR, are wanting to move brokerages. They just don't know where to go. 33%. So if you know that, and we know this, when the market settles down, which it's doing right now, more agents will look to be moving and quitting than over the last 2 years. Agent attraction gets easier over the next 2 years because the market gets harder. And they think they don't love their broker as much anymore. And they're not getting as much training anymore. And the amount of money that they're investing right now in lead gen isn't working the way it was working before. And Zillow's gotten more expensive. And social media's gotten more problematic. Does this sound familiar to everybody? So more agents will be looking for bait. Would you agree or not? It's going to be easier. More people are hungry. Number 2, we are more credible. We, as a company, are significantly more credible than we were 3 years ago or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, we were still getting early adopters. Now we're beginning the momentum phase, which means people are now curious and they don't want to be left behind. In fact, any of you want to try this line out, it will work. Hey, you don't want to be the last person to come to this company. You don't want to be the last person. We got 82,000 people. We're going to hit 100,000 people by September. Right? October. I predicted 112,500 by the end of the year 2 years ago. We'll pass Keller Williams sometime September-ish next year. And that's not our goal. Our goal isn't to pass Keller Williams. It's what Jason said the other day. What makes us the most unique brokerage on the planet is we don't compare ourselves to anyone else. We've become the brokerage Glenn wanted to work for. These are incredible statements. What makes you guys different? Well, that everyone's comparing themselves to us. And you should see why. 1,000 agents a week. See, people always say to me the same thing. Eric, you're so smooth when you're talking to people. And I take that as a compliment, but I need you to know why I'm so smooth. Because I don't invent new lines. I just say the same thing over and over in different ways. The same thing. Look, If 1,000 agents a week coming to a company that you don't understand is not enough of a motivator to look, you shouldn't look. If you're not interested in knowing how you could retire from real estate in the next 5 years, making more money than you're making right now selling real estate, then you probably shouldn't look at this model. Now, I'm very careful. I don't say things like that to people because I don't want to offend them, belittle them. A buddy of mine used to sell cars, and he learned the absolute single best line you can ever say to anyone when selling a car. The single best line. The problem is the people it doesn't get, it offends. And his manager said, I don't care how many you offend. Because if you offend them, you tell them, talk to my manager and let me, I'll sell them for you. But someone that's going to be offended by the right information, if you're saying it the right way, isn't a prospect. Here's the line. You ready? Well, maybe, you know, maybe when they're talking about, oh, that's a little higher than I want to pay. All you say is one line. Well, if you can't afford this car, then I'll show you one that's less expensive. Oh, don't say that to somebody. Right? A line to say it here would be, if you don't want to know why 1,000 agents a week are coming, I guess you have your prerogative. But I don't like saying that line because they can sit there and say, whoa, why would you say that to me? So I don't ever deal in the negative. I always deal in the positive. Oh man, that's great. That's awesome. I'm glad you're at 100%. So I talked to a Caldwell agent the other day. She said to me, Eric, here's the biggest problem you're going to have. I said, what's that? She said, I've worked my way up to 94% with Caldwell Banker right now. I said, wow, that's an awesome number. What's the cap on that? And they said, well, what do you mean the cap? I said, well, you pay them 6% on everything, right? Yep. And your monthly fee, right? Yep. And you did 27 million last year. So you did 27 million times 2.5% times 6%. You paid them $40,000. And you felt good about it. Would you feel better if it were half of that? Oh yeah. Let me show you how to pay half of that. Right? I mean, go with whatever they have to say. Oh, I hear this all the time. Oh, you guys, don't you have like a cap? Don't you have to pay 16,000? I said, well, if you're not smart, you have to pay 16,000, but I want to show you how you can get away from the 16,000 if you're open to look. I'd like to show you how to make a number that you don't even know how it exists, because in your brokerage, you don't know how to go over 100%. I want to show you how agents like you, they actually have EXP paying them more money every year than they're paying EXP. And I want to show you how to do that. And here's what they say. Oh, you mean you got to recruit a lot of people? No, that's the mistake most people have. They think the only way to make money at EXP is to recruit a lot of people. I want to show you how we can offset your $16,000 cap. But more importantly, if you don't want to recruit, I'll show you how to bring agents to EXP without recruiting. What do you mean? How do I bring them there without recruiting? Let me show you the presentation. And then once you see it, you'll clearly understand how you can bring agents here without focusing on recruiting. Well, how would I do that then? Watch the presentation. Let me have one round of conversation with you after that. And if I haven't convinced you that you don't have to recruit people, but they will follow you, if you do it the right way, if I haven't convinced you that, you'll stay where you are. But remember, there's 1,000 agents a week that started just like you a week ago. And they said, oh, let me look at it. And they go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Now, again, you may go, oh my gosh, that's amazing, and stay where you are. But you may also go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I want to come in January. These are the conversations I have with people. Now, Gary, Brian, Michael, Nathan, I know you're listening. Zach, you're here. Awesome to have you here. Stephen, even Kim. You notice I'm not talking about splits. I'm not talking about brokerages. I'm talking about curiosity. I continue to say, that's awesome. But there are agents that have come, part of the 1,000 agents that came last week, hundreds of them felt the same way you felt. They didn't hate their broker. They loved their broker. In fact, some of them, the minute they see the presentation, the first thing they do is they want their broker to see it. And you may say the same thing. But do you notice I'm not talking about EXP, I'm talking about the curiosity in EXP. Anybody come here this week with something they wanted to learn and I haven't hit it? Yes, Mr. Circo.
Is there a list of the most common objections that you overcome?
Yes. You can find that list when we post this audio in workplace chat, in workplace feed in the Freedom Team, because Kim's about to write the top 5 things you're going to hear.
Right.
Number 1, everybody's calling you. Number 2, I'm already at 100% or something about their split. Number 3, I love my office or my broker. Number 4, I'm really happy where I am. Number 5, I've got friends that have gone there and or they've come back, or I know people that are in EXP and they're not very good, or something like that related to people at EXP. Now, Zachary, what I want to tell you is, and by the way, does anybody have a one that's better, they hear more often than any of those 5? Anybody? Gary, you and Brian and Stephen call about as much as anybody. Those are about the top 5. Would you agree? So Zachary, here's the key point. Doesn't matter what they say, I respond the exact same way. That's awesome. Man, you know what? If everybody's calling me, it's because you probably don't know this. I'm probably the first agent telling you, but your volume is ideal for one of our programs, and they're going to keep calling you. But there's a reason why they're calling you, Jim. 1,000 agents a week are moving to the company, and many of them because they're ideally set for exactly the same volume you have. And I don't want you to come. I want you to know why they're coming. Oh, you love your broker. That's awesome. You have any idea how many people I talk to that hate their broker? I'm thankful. I'm actually going to tell. I'm going to remember this because I don't get it very often. I'm glad you like your broker. Here's my question. He likes you too, right? Or she likes you too, right? Yeah, of course they do. But maybe that's keeping you from something that our agents are getting. I don't know. I want you to love your broker. But maybe out of the 1,000 agents that came to us last week, 100 of them love their brokers too, but there's something in our presentation that causes people to say, oh, I better pay attention to this. And I'm not telling you you're going to see that in our presentation, but you probably will. So let's just get it in front of you so you can see why 1,000 agents a week are moving, and some of them that love their brokers. Again, I'm expecting you're not coming, but you're going to go, wow, I can't believe they're doing that. So let me just get it in front of you. I could set up a live Zoom with you, or hey, I don't mind sending you a quick overview video. The problem is, will you really watch it? So if I sent you a short 9-10 minute video, would you watch it? Or are you just going to say yes to get me off the phone? Zach, see how I follow, see that process? Those are the top 5 things, and answering them directly is only going to lead to them asking another question.
Gotcha.
Did I answer what you were looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. I just like to know kind of what the main objections you guys are hearing now are. And then we always used to say, yes, address, close. So like you said, yes, I hear you. That's awesome. Address whatever their question was, but then ask for that appointment or to show them.
If somebody asks splits, one of my favorite things to talk about are splits. I give them the 3-prong approach. I said, every agent at EXP is identical in their splits. There's no negotiation. Some of our agents pay up to $16,000 a year, and some of our best agents pay nothing. At the end of the year, right, they've paid nothing. And so I'm going to show you both ends, because I don't want you to pay anything if you don't have to, right? Because EXP can be looked at as 100%. That's the EXP I want to show you. So the 3 things are, when I say it, some of our agents pay up to $16,000. Some of them actually get away with not having to pay anything by the end of the year. And I want to show you that EXP. That's, no one's ever shown you that model. That's the one I want to show you. Okay. If they say something about their broker, say, that's awesome. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at this. And because it sounds like you have a great relationship with your broker. Look at this, find the areas that we're giving you that your broker's not. Bring the video to him and say, how do we get this stuff to? Or if you really like the presentation, bring it to him and say, hey, maybe we both should come over here. But it all starts, Zachary, with you finding out why 1,000 agents a week are moving, even some that love their broker. Because you're going to look at it and you're going to say, you're not going to say, wow, I'm coming. What you're going to say is, wow, now I understand why everybody's coming. Now, you may want to continue the conversation and you may not after that, but I promise you it's not a waste of your time, because you're going to keep getting calls. You might as well know why they're calling. And I can't stop there. I have to say, so can I get it in front of you tomorrow or Thursday? Anybody else have anything, including Zachary, anything else on that subject? No. So we're going to roll into, keep this going. Kim, you probably can cancel the recording and then start it again if you want to. Did I make you co-host? I never made you co-host, did I? Oh, you came in as co-host.